So conventional wisdom has it that technology and job creation don't exactly go too well together. On the contrary, most of us, I think, associate the introduction of technology with the removal of people from the production process. So today I'd like to present perhaps a slightly different perspective on the role that mobile phones specifically can play in creating opportunities for those near the bottom of the pyramid. I grew up in a relatively small town called Bothas Hill in KwaZulu-Natal. My childhood home overlooks an area called the Valley of 1,000 Hills, which I personally think is one of the most scenic parts of the country. Unfortunately, it's also one of the poorest. It's rife with unemployment and poverty, a legacy of neglect, no doubt, left by the apartheid regime. My parents moved to Bothas Hill from Johannesburg more than 30 years ago, primarily so my father, who has a public health background, could take up a position at a community center called the Valley Trust, which serves the people of KwaNuswa, amongst others. I always found the work of my parents meaningful and interesting, but my personal passion lay squarely with technology. It was a passion that was encouraged by my parents and actively shared by my father. As a kid, growing up in the 80s and 90s, I was spellbound by guys like this guy, Knight Rider, Star Trek, and so many other technology icons of the time. It seemed obvious, to me at least, that I would never be able to apply my passion for technology in my local community. The solutions I imagined myself developing would be more at home in California than a place like KwaNuswa. In 2006, after spending a year in Johannesburg and finishing my engineering degree, I did what I think most entrepreneurs need to do when starting out, and that's swallow one's pride and move back in with the parents. So I returned to Durban to link up with 3 like-minded friends to found a software development company. We were determined to be commercially successful, as most are, but we hoped we could have a positive social impact at the same time, although we had no clue how we could do this. So one of the benefits of being back, apart from home-cooked meals and free laundry, was that my father and I could spend hours talking, brainstorming, and yes, sometimes arguing about topics that we cared deeply about. I remember one morning, it must have been like 2 or 3 a.m., he mentioned a challenge his NGO was facing in collecting data from rural areas using traditional paper-based techniques. We both agreed that there had to be a better way of getting it done. So I took the problem back to my colleagues, and the result was a mobile data collection platform, which we called Mobile Researcher. The solution essentially entails a field worker downloading a tiny mobile application onto their handset, allowing them to conduct surveys or mobile forms which have been assigned to them. Complex workflows can be broken down to very simple step-by-step instructions and executed on a low-cost handset, perhaps costing just a few £100. It was immediately obvious to us how naturally the use of mobile phones for data collection came to field workers, even those without a lot of technical exposure or formal education. Within a few months of launching this product commercially, we began to think of other applications which took advantage of this ability. One afternoon, a colleague was surfing the web and came across a website called subservientchicken.com. It was a viral ad campaign from Burger King, which some of you may have come across yourselves. The website features a text box which allows you to enter instructions to a man dressed in a chicken suit who follows your orders, more or less. Simply just enter a command and Chicken Man will obey in the video above. Now, although obviously fake, we really enjoyed the concept, and as ridiculous and perhaps as cruel as it sounds, it sparked a discussion about using people to perform tasks remotely. So with this in mind, we began to think back to how naturally the use of mobile phones for the completion of forms came to people in rural areas. Could these forms be used for other things rather than just data collection or research? And it took about 2 more years of brainstorming and bootstrap development, but with the help of the business trust, we were able to launch Mobenzi in late 2009. Now, the name Mobenzi comes from the words mobile and umsebenzi, which means work or task in Zulu, the native language or the indigenous language of the area in which our company is based. Now, in very simple terms, Mobenzi is a brokering platform. It sources data from organizations, creates mobile tasks, and then distributes those tasks to workers who conduct them via their mobile phones. It then receives those tasks and remunerates these workers or agents for the work performed. Now, due to its status as an urban poverty node, and very symbolically, we chose Kwanuswa as our launch site, which is the very same community that I grew up near, which I had assumed could not benefit from technology so many years before. Now, in this community, like so many others, the problem is not that people don't want to work or that they don't have any education. It's primarily that there isn't sufficient work available for them to earn a living to live with dignity or further their education. So what we wanted to do was to make a change in this community. And the real question then is, what kind of work can you really do on a mobile phone? And perhaps more importantly, is it of any commercial value? Well, we certainly think so, and hopefully I can demonstrate using just a very simple example. Imagine a hotel chain is interested in what I thought of a recent stay at one of their hotels. They could send me an SMS or a question via SMS, and I could reply to that question in my own words without having to worry about fixed formats or obscure codes. So here, the trick then is how to extract the relevant information from my reply and present it to the business in a format which is useful and usable. So in my reply to being asked to rate my stay out of 5 and to give the main reason why, I wrote, I don't like standing in the bath to take a shower. I expected a dedicated shower for a 4-star hotel, so 2 out of 5 for me. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, firstly, why am I such a snob? But perhaps also, couldn't a computer extract the relevant information from this reply? And they're very powerful these days. Well, automated natural language processing is an evolving and an exciting field, but it's not yet capable of handling the nuances of human speech or the melting pot of cultural references, the mishmash of slang, textese, humor, and sarcasm that we cram into just about every sentence, especially when we use our mobile phones. But people can. So Mobenzi works by using ordinary people instead of software algorithms to process certain kinds of data. So here you can see that the agent is responsible for extracting my rating out of 5 and for classifying the main reason that I gave by choosing the most appropriate option from a list. A very simple task for a human being, but extraordinarily complex for a computer system. So using this person's innate human ability, we can immediately do things like produce a variety of reports for the business, perform follow-up interactions, or perform a multitude of other actions to improve the overall customer experience. In this case, if my comment was shared by others, it might indicate that investing in bathroom infrastructure upgrades would have a major improvement in overall customer satisfaction. So now, is this concept of distributed labor a realistic one? Well, there are a number of other brilliant initiatives which are helping to prove the concept. Depending on the nature of the work, the capabilities of the worker required, and the incentive offered, it might make sense to distribute work via Amazon's Mechanical Turk or SamaSource, where workers are desktop-based, via Text Eagle, which utilizes very, very low-end SMS-enabled handsets, or via Mobenzi, which is geared towards workers who make use of entry-level feature phones costing a few $100. Now, some of the feedback that we've been receiving from our workers has been so touching to us that I felt compelled to share a few of the quotes with you today. Because it's something you can do in your spare time, and you're paid for it, your mind is not focused on distractions of drugs, alcohol, and hanging out with unproductive and negative people on the streets. I want the world to eventually be plugged into Mobenzi so that we can have the entire planet of productive people. That's Mzizi on the right-hand side there. I never have to worry about transport problems, being late for work, or not having time to attend college. I can make money, study, and even do my Mobenzi tasks in a taxi on my way to lectures. It's helped me in more ways than I thought when I first started. That's from Trevor. It helps me focus on the work I'm doing, knowing that for each task I complete, I will be paid. I've learned to be a critical thinker and enjoy the challenge of learning new words and abbreviations in different languages and business terms. I've even made myself a book where I write down all of the words I don't understand, then later find their meanings. Mobenzi has given me employment, empowerment, and an education in the business world. It's from Nokutula. So the concept behind Mobenzi is that the labor pool is ready and rearing to go. The challenge then is to educate organizations about the tasks, about the work and applications that they can use here, be it in address cleaning, transcription, translation, content classification, or just about any other data-intensive or repetitive task that you can think of. It's a challenge that I hope you'll agree is worth taking on. Thanks for your time.